Welcome back to the W Sports Podcast. It's your boy, Tubby. Now, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or you're watching it on YouTube, you go, something ain't right here. You would be correct, as I am going solo dolo by myself for the next couple of weeks as Jimothy gets to have all the fun and travel around. So bear with me as this doesn't sound good because this is my first time doing it by myself. So you know what? We're just going to rip off the Band-Aid and dive right into week 4 college football recap. We thought we were going to have some much better college football this week than we had. What didn't quite live up to the billing, but we're just going to go with probably the game of the week right off the bat. USC traveling to the Big House against Michigan, reigning national champions in their first ever Big Ten conference game. It started out like I thought it would. USC's defense, it has looked improved through the first couple weeks, but man, Michigan comes right out and just starts running it down their throat. Kyle Mulling says probably looked like the better running back. We all expected Donovan Edwards kind of take this leap this year, take over the reins after Blake Corum was out. Hasn't quite done that. Mullings is the guy, I think, right now. So first half, they just come out and just start running down their throat. And it looked like a typical Lincoln Riley defense. Can't really stop the run, can't really do anything defensive-wise. But the second half was a completely different story. Miller Moss balled out in the second half, brings them back, scores late, gets them ahead. And you're like, man, with the way Michigan's offense was going in that second half, there was no shot of them coming back and, driving the field 80 some yards to, win that game. But of course, Mullings breaks out a massive run once again and gets it down deep in, Trojan territory, ends up punching it in. And really that was all she wrote. Michigan gets the win, but there's still a lot of questions with this team. That defense hasn't quite looked the way we expected it to with all the returning guys. Yeah, they lost quite a few guys to the NFL, but with Mason Graham and Grant on that defensive line, we expected that defensive line to really shine and put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks, and they haven't quite done that yet. Will Johnson is still, to me, one of the best players in college football. The pick six was massive. When the offense wasn't able to move the ball, he was able to, pick it off and run it in for a touchdown. The biggest question, though, right now for Michigan is quarterback play. I mean, Alex Orji didn't play great at all. Passing-wise, I don't even know if they clipped 100 yards. I think it was like 30, 50 yards, something like that. They still have a massive question at quarterback. And the offensive line played a lot better in the first half. Second half, it, wasn't quite the same. They are replacing every single starter along that offensive line. So there is going to be a lot of growing pains, but it's still, I think this Michigan team isn't quite ready, and I don't think they'll be able to compete in the Big Ten or even have a chance at the playoffs. I think they're going to stumble a couple more times with Oregon and Ohio State on that schedule. I would imagine if they keep playing like this, they will be out, and it won't be much. I think this, Lincoln Riley, honestly, he doesn't play good and, doesn't coach well in top 25 games, and it kind of proved that here. Wasn't able to close it out. But I will say this, I think their defense is much improved than what it was. The new defense coordinator from UCLA comes in, and he has really improved this defense in, just a short time. So maybe for them, there is some hope at the end of the, tunnel somewhere. There's a light, shining at them, because this defense doesn't look like it had, the last few years where they couldn't stop a nosebleed. So I think you have some hope there. I don't know if playoffs are in the picture for you, but honestly, I think I was wrong on Miller Moss. I didn't think that he had the capability that he has. So maybe they've got something special there, and maybe next year with, a year more into this defense, they might find themselves competing in the Big Ten. Now we're going to move on to a game I think that shocked a lot of people that it was even this close. The Mizzou Vandy game. I don't think anyone really gave Vandy much of a shot. I know me and Jimothy, we thought we didn't even talk about this game because we didn't think that Vandy had any shot in this game. And man, Vandy, they really let it slip through their fingers. Missed 2 field goals, one to put them up, another one to tie it in overtime. And they just kind of handed the game to Mizzou. Mizzou has not looked good, recently. The last couple of weeks, I mean, yeah, BC has played a lot better this year than I think we expected with the whole new regime after Halfley left and Bill O'Brien came in. But the explosiveness that they had last year on offense doesn't seem to be there. Down the field, they aren't really able to complete a whole lot 20 plus yards down the field. I don't know what it is at now, but I know before this Vandy game, they were 1 for 12, I think, on passes over 20 yards. That's going to be a big problem for them because last year they relied a lot on explosive plays with Luther Burden and Theo Weiss. I think not having Cody Schrader right now is a big hit for them because they don't quite have the run pass balance that they did last year. So I think moving forward, I think that they're a little more susceptible than we were expecting them this year because we looked at the schedule early on and we're like, man, they should run through this, and except for maybe the Alabama game, and put themselves in a position to compete for the SEC championship and, make it to the playoffs. Granted, they haven't lost yet, so they're still in that mix. But I just don't know if they're quite what we expected them to be this year with all the returning, power they had on offense outside of Cody Schrader. The one thing that I thought was going to be a problem has been a problem. The defense has not been good. You lost all those guys to the NFL. It has affected you like I thought it would. So we'll see in the next couple of weeks once they start playing a couple these better teams, whether or not they are able to keep up and keep themselves in position to potentially make it to the SEC championship game or the college football playoffs. I know one story everyone's going to want to talk about is Arch Manning getting his first start against UL Monroe. Honestly, it was an up and down. A couple turnovers, couple touchdowns. He looked good times. Then he looked like a freshman, even though he's not a true freshman. He looked like a freshman quarterback making his first start. Honestly, I expected him to play a lot better, especially after what he did against UTEP coming in off the bench. I don't know if maybe the pressure was a little bit higher since this was his first start and all that. I don't think there's any worry going forward, but I think honestly for Sarkisian, it's probably best for him because now he probably is not going to have that quarterback controversy once it comes Quinn Ewers' time to, return. If, Arch just plays, good, but not great, he's not going to have to worry about, oh man, do I have to start Arch because he's, got the hot hand, or do I have to play, or do I, go with the experience in Quinn Ewers? Right now, after that game, you definitely going with the experience, especially in the next couple of weeks. You've got OU coming up in a couple of weeks. Then the week after that, you got Georgia, your two biggest games left on your schedule. You definitely are going to have to go with the experience because I just don't think Arch is ready. But I think future-wise, everyone in the SEC is probably shaking in their boots because Arch looks like he has a better command of this offense than we would expect right now. And with the mobility that he has, he brings a completely different side to that offense than Quinn Ewers does, because Quinn, yeah, granted, he has lost weight and he's gotten better shape and he has become more mobile. He doesn't have the wheels or the athleticism that Arch Manning has. And that makes that offense even more dangerous than it is. And then we'll go ahead and jump over to the FSU game. Yeah, we're not going to talk a lot about this, but man, you get your first win, but it was an ugly 14-9 win. Mike Norvell, before you get fired, I think you're a great coach. You have to make a change. Yes, DJ got you a win. I guess you can say got you a win, but man, this is not it. You got to make a change, or they're going to be calling for your head. Utah, there's a lot. Honestly, there was a lot of first, conference games this year, this week, because we got so much realignment. Utah goes to Stillwater, gets their first Big 12, win. Honestly, I'm going to put this game on strictly on Mike Gundy because you shouldn't have pulled out Alan Bowman like you did. I don't understand it. It cost you. Honestly, it did, because you came back and almost won that game. But Rangel looked awful. I don't understand it, because the week before you come back from 17 down to Arkansas. Obviously, he's shown that he can come back and, bring your team back. And you pull him, and for some reason, in your first Big 12 game of the season against probably the favorite. And we were wondering what would happen with Cam Rising being out. Would they be able to stay afloat until Cam comes back? Wilson looks pretty solid. Yeah, he's had his freshman moments, but kid's a true freshman coming in, going to a hostile environment like Stillwater. They are a very loud crowd and perform relatively well. Bernard absolutely just balled out. They have a way of finding these guys that didn't originally play that position and finding them and putting them in positions to be that much better at that position than what they recruited them as. So I think Utah is still the favorite for me in the Big 12. Iowa State looked really good, but yeah, granted they weren't playing anyone, too impressive. They played Arkansas State. We'll go ahead and talk about the 120 points between James Madison and UNC real quick. Me and Jimothy were texting back and forth, and he's like, "Yeah, how much longer does Mack Brown got?" And I think the time for Mack is coming real quick, and he will not be there probably after this year if things keep going the way they are. Yeah, you lose Max Johnson right off the bat. First week of the season, breaks his leg. That'll definitely put a damper on your season. But, man, he just really hasn't – he's recruited decently well, and they just haven't really performed like they should. I don't know if he's evolved too well with the game, and that's where we're at. I think that either he's going to retire or they're going to end up letting him go and trying to move in a different direction to find a younger coach to succeed him. Now, these last few minutes, we're going to go ahead and talk about Oklahoma. Know us at the W Sports Podcast. We're big OU fans, and it was absolutely disappointing game for the most part. We had higher expectations for Jackson Arnold. I expected him to be what he was, a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, and then the game just hasn't translated. I still think that he could be a really good football player, but he is so much in his head. The constant is, I think he's speeding the game up way too much for himself. He's not able to slow it down, and that's been a big problem. The turnovers really killed Oklahoma. That defense, I'm not going to put any of that loss on them whatsoever. They were on the field for 11 more minutes. They shut down one of the best offenses in college football, who was averaging 45, 48 points a game coming into this game. They shut them down. And I know this is going to sound homer, and I'm sure I'm going to get some flack for this, but if Oklahoma has a halfway competent quarterback, they beat Tennessee last night or on Saturday. They win that game. We saw it when Michael Hawkins came in. Michael Hawkins had a much better control of that offense than Jackson Arnold did as a true freshman. He came in and put up equal numbers to what Nico put up. And yeah, granted, Tennessee ran the ball 52 times, and people are trying to say, oh, Heupel throttled back the offense because they had the lead and this and that. I don't believe so. I think a big part of it was Heupel saw Nico wasn't comfortable in the pocket with what Oklahoma was running. He turned the ball over twice on fumbles. I think he knew, okay, their offense isn't playing very well. We can run it well enough, even though, we ran it 52 times for 100 and some yards. We only averaged, 3.2 yards a carry. They were able to run it well enough to get the win. But I think there is still some questions with that offense when they go against a good defense because, yeah, Nico, that's his first real tough road start, in a big, massive stadium. Loud stadium. Oklahoma fans definitely showed up, but Oklahoma going forward, the offense, they're gonna have to figure something out. Hopefully, they found something with Michael Hawkins. I imagine he should get the start against Auburn this coming week. We'll see if he doesn't. There's definitely going to be a lot of rumbling in Norman. There already is. There's a lot of people calling for Seth Luttrell's job. Jimothy is one of them, and you know what? I'm right there with him. The play calling has been atrocious. The thing is I don't understand is whether or not he dialed back the play calling for Hawkins or what, because the play calling once Hawkins came in seemed much more fluid. It seemed smoother, and I don't know if it was so much Tennessee, yeah, we got the win, we don't have to play as hard on offense or what, or maybe just Michael Hawkins does have a better grasp and the offense is more suited for him. That'll be the thing. But man, the play calling, the side to side playing, instead of attacking downfield, they threw one pass really that went 20 plus yards and it went out of bounds. So they're going to have to find some way to threaten down deep, because everyone's going to set on the slants and going to set in in the flats and all that stuff. They're going to have to figure something out. And then I love Coach Biedenbaugh. He's honestly, to me, still one of the best offensive line coaches in college football. But I think he has to own some of what's going on with Oklahoma. And not some, he has to own a lot of it. I'm not calling for his job and like some of these other people, but he's going to have to figure out something with this offensive line, because it is not good. Hawkins, I think the biggest reason why he had success is because he is much more mobile than Jackson Arnold. Jackson Arnold is a really good athlete. He can run, but he's not the athlete that Michael Hawkins is. So Biedenbaugh's going to have to figure something out. Hopefully it's just going to need continuity, because there was so many missing pieces to start the season. But if not, there's going to be a lot more rumblings for him too. There's a lot of people that aren't happy with how the offensive lines looked the last couple of years, and I'm honestly one of them. So we'll see what happens, leading up to, the rest of the season for Oklahoma and for college football. But, we'll see. This has been a little different for us, for me, leading the way. So we'll see how things go the next couple recordings, but you might as well go ahead and just like and subscribe on YouTube, because in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be starting our giveaways. And the only way to get in is to be subscribed to the channel. So you might as well go ahead and do that. Turn on the notifications so you know when the videos come out. Make sure you follow and subscribe or whatever on any of the social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Facebook. And if you got any questions about anything, message us, especially on Instagram. It's the easiest way to get back to us, or just leave a comment and we'll get back to you. But you just got to remember, you just got to listen. You know what? We'll see you in the next couple of days. Until then, see ya.